In that picture, everybody else apart from the leader, what are they? And you know what sheep do? I don't mean any offense to animal lovers, but sheep are typically a symbol of stupidity. Thank you. I didn't want to say it myself. I was trying to get there, but thank you. So here it is, my next slide. Sheep do what sheep do. They herd, they follow, they need constant attention so that they don't stray. So you see now, you can look into yourself to see in your family, in your faith community, is there any part of it that is in you, and what is it doing? Yeah. Because, in this model, the literal model, when the sheep strays, what happens? Hooked back. There's no freedom. And there's another problem which might be a benefit at the same time. Let's look at it. A shepherd can handle only so many sheep before the system gets into trouble. So about 100 sheep. After that, you need sheepdogs. Thank you. I love this row over here. That's right. After that, you need sheepdogs. So, I'm not going to draw any comparisons to faith tradition communities. I'll leave that up to you. Have you ever seen a community that has trouble growing beyond a certain number of people? We have that in our organization. It gets to a certain amount, and the pastor can no longer do what the model demands. I need an intimate relationship with the pastor, and it's not possible. Somebody came up to me once, and now in our center, we have grown over the years, and so we have, 1,000 people on a Sunday. I'm so blessed. And this person came and said, Pastor, I want to let you know why I'm not coming back. Because in my previous community, I had a personal relationship with the pastor. I wanted to say, do the math. Just figure it out. So you see, you look inside of you. If that is alive in you, oh, it's got quiet. Then, you have to think about it. Now, of course, having dogs is an unpleasant way of saying the shepherd needs assistance. So there is a more positive framework, and we'll talk about that. The image we heard earlier that the sheep are stupid is an image, and it's the idea that the shepherd is head and shoulders above the rest, and the rest cannot hear the truth. So they must just follow. And the thing about the herd, I have a friend who has a farm, and sometimes he borrows the neighbor farmer's sheep to mow the field. They're so beautiful. It just brings them on in, the sheep, and lets them loose in the field, and they just munch. And the thing we noticed about the herd is, at the center of the herd, not much thinking is required. So if there's panic, it just comes in a wave. You're in the middle. You don't even know why the panic came. It just comes, and then you're back to eating. You didn't need to think. You just look and see, is there any of this in me? That's all I invite you to ask. Is it in me? It could be. It could be your normal, maybe not. I don't know. I'm not accusing anybody. Maybe it's other people who are like this. Oh, dear. It reminds me of me when I am in the middle of the herd and I just do what everybody does. Once a student told me a story about the Thanksgiving ham. Do you know this story? About this daughter, she's watching her mother prepare the Thanksgiving. You know this one? She's just cutting off the ends. She doesn't know why until they finally speak to the great-grandmother. She says, well, because we were so poor, we didn't have a pan big enough. Well, that's the idea. I'm just doing exactly what the herd is doing because I've always done it that way. Oh. Well, okay, to be fair, let us just, oops, not that one. To be fair, let's just look to see if there are some positive images to do with the shepherd-sheep model. I like to be fair. Yes, intimacy. Everybody knows everybody. And also what's going on. There is safety in the herd, and that is a benefit. There is. There is connection. Well, we can duplicate connection in other ways in large communities if we want to be universal and be a blessing to the world. We can still do that. There's a personal relationship because the shepherd has to know every single sheep to be able to count them at the end of the day. Okay? It's contained. So this restricts growth. So if that is important to you, then this is a valuable model. So we get to look, is that what I want? We find that this model starts to rub up against people when they're in a community and half the people want to grow and half the people want everything to stay exactly as it is, where it is, and they want to know everybody, and they always want to have the same bake sale on the same day they always did. And they cut off the end of the ham in the same place. Just other people, not in our organizations. You can see the disadvantages that arise out of this system when the shepherd is the only decision maker. Oh. You know, in our organization, we've seen pastoral model churches grow to about 100 and 150. Then it grows to a certain size, and then the pastor goes away or perhaps dies, or perhaps, who knows, and then chaos ensues. Without the presence of the pastor, who takes over? Front row assistants? They're dogs. Because nobody was trained and equipped to be a leader. Everybody's looking. They didn't notice what's happening. So we're looking at that right now. Ooh. You know, everything stays the same is also a disadvantage. Cannot keep contemporary. I heard that from many speakers. We must be relevant. I heard another speaker say, contemporary. Well, not if you're going to stay the same. You know, I went to a workshop once, and the workshop provider started the workshop by just writing on the wall, what is not being said in this room? And then he sat down. And that's what I experience with these models. It's asking me to look at what is not being said in my growth potential. Oh. You know, when people look at your normal, it's very I'm even afraid to tell you some of the things that other people saw in our organization, because you know we have the same problems. You know, and I guess I should say it because because you know what you are thinking about me at any moment is creating something for your life. And we're the same person anyway. See, I'm building up to it because I'm afraid. Okay, thank you. So we had this consultant come in to look at our organization, see what's our normal. So he says to us, well, I'm confused because, you know, you say you teach prosperity. So why is it you can't pay your bills? It's the economy. It's the this. He says you say it's a high value diversity. He says, how come you all look the same? So I'm looking around now for the people who are different, for evidence that he's wrong. See, I want to just cut the ham in the same way. It's the demographics. So I blame anything. It's the economy. It's the demographics. It's never my mental model. I had nothing to do with it. It just happened. There, I said it. You know, and so we're looking at that and we're trying to have a good time with it to say how beautiful it is when we see ourselves. You know, to see it is the first step of freedom. You don't have to change anything in the beginning, you just see it. You know, and when you see a thing, it loses its permanence. When you don't see it, it's working its magic. So now we see it and we say, well, okay, how uncomfortable is this? So he said to us, the consultant, why don't you ask your people to pledge more money? See, our normal did not permit us to talk about it. People might leave. So I approached the subject to my people. I said, we value diversity. We should focus and study on how to bring that into our consciousness. Yes, the people said, and they stood up and applauded. So we had our first workshop. Nobody came. Yeah, you feel that one? Yeah, it's just beautiful. It's so tender. You know, we just go, oh my goodness, how beautifully are we made that we can so easily be blind. And to have the tenderness to see that in ourselves, you know, because it's so easy to see in somebody else. I can see your stuff, but don't you look at mine. Well, you know, the shepherd and the sheep is not the only model we discovered. We found that as we did learn to share leadership, that we would move our centers into slightly larger numbers, and now we needed a different model of leadership to function that has both its benefits and detriments. And here's the slide for it. It is the leadership model of the sovereign, the king or the queen, you know, and my mother is the queen of the universe. So I learned sometimes how to lead from her. It's not always a good thing. So in the beginning, I mentioned that the sheep, the shepherd has a herd. The king or the queen has subjects. Don't you love that word? Subject. Okay, you already understand the relationship then. The sheep follow, the subjects obey. And there is an allegory in this because there is a good time to obey. And then there is a literal time when it's just an abdication of personal responsibility. He told me to. So the danger with the sheep is that they might stray. The danger with this model is that the people might revolt. So you have to exercise constant control. The threat for the sheep is that wolves might come along. In this case, it might be that the people will overthrow the leadership. It could come from the neighbors. It could come in the form of ideas that will infiltrate the system and not be welcome. So you have to deal with it in a certain way. I just saw Alice in Wonderland. Has anybody